Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Johnson. I'm a volunteer with the Canadian Celiac Association, and I will be your host today. I'm pleased to be joined by Dr. Jennifer Sealey Voyksner, who's the scientific co-founder and chief scientific officer with ImmunogenX Incorporated. Welcome, Dr. Sealey Voyksner.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be with you.
We're excited to have you. This is the next installment of our In Conversation series for you on matters relating to celiac disease and the gluten-free diet. Every other month, we'll be bringing these to you as part of our CCA Connects newsletter. We're talking to leaders and change makers in the gluten-free industry and the research field, medical professionals, stakeholders, and more. So we'll hope that you'll be listening and learning, and you're invited to share your thoughts on potential guests too. You can email us at communications@celiac.ca with any ideas. So today we're very fortunate to have Dr. Jennifer Sealey Voyksner, who, as I said, is the scientific co-founder and chief scientific officer with ImmunogenX Incorporated. Dr. Sealey Voyksner works with passion and science to improve the lives of people with celiac disease, and she has a 30-year history in research and development in environmental and food sciences, as well as the biotechnology industry. Dr. Sealey Voyksner is Canadian. She obtained her master's in chemistry at McMaster University and her PhD in analytical chemistry at the University of North Carolina. She's also a certified quality auditor and a pilot in her spare time. She also has celiac disease herself. So it should be a very interesting talk. Welcome again, Jennifer. I first have to ask, your background is as an airplane. I understand you're a pilot in your spare time. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Well, it's another science is a passion of mine, but so is aviation. And so wherever I can fly anywhere, this is me in the front. Whenever I can fly, not the fighter jet, unfortunately. Whenever I can fly anywhere for work or anything, that's my preferred mode of transportation.
Not a bad way to commute to work, yeah. Well, thanks for giving that context. So before we get into talking about an exciting new potential treatment for celiac disease, could you give a bit of background about what ImmunogenX is for those of us who might not know?
Sure. ImmunogenX, we're a very, very small clinical stage biopharma company here in the US. We founded in 2013, starting with actually work in food safety with respect to gluten detection. And we grew into the pharmaceutical industry, taking on the Latiglutenase development, and we are supported by an ever-growing team of world-renowned scientists and collaborators and people that are very passionate as I am, thankfully, about bringing the therapy for celiac disease to market, as well as some disease management tools for disease management tools. And so our primary area of development is Latiglutenase, which I can talk about a little bit more about.
Yep, and that's brought us here today. So what is Latiglutenase all about?
So Latiglutenase is designed as an adjunct to a gluten-free diet. It's orally administered. It's a combination of two gluten-specific enzymes, and they're mixed together with a flavor and in a glass of water, and you would drink it with a meal. We're hoping that everybody will drink it with each meal, but really it's supposed to be taken with a meal if you think that there may be cross-contamination or cross-contact wherever you're eating that meal, whether it's at home or out at a restaurant or traveling and so on. So the enzymes specifically target gluten proteins in your stomach and break them down into small enough pieces, per se, that they will not trigger the autoimmune reaction. So it's the gluten is the trigger, and we stop that trigger right at the beginning of the pathogenesis of the reaction.
So essentially it attacks gluten and breaks it up so that it won't trigger that immune reaction. It won't cause damage to the intestines.
Correct. And we're hoping over time, if this is what we're studying. Over time, taking this regularly will actually help the histology to heal over time, because we know that it's impossible to adhere to a gluten-free diet. And as a celiac myself, I know very well that at the best of times, you can't control what you eat. And so over time, you're still exposed to small amounts of gluten. And so this therapy will definitely help to cut down on that inadvertent exposure.
And you said it goes into a glass of water, so like just a regular sized glass, you put it in at the beginning of your meal, and then it'll take care of any issues,
Right.
hopefully.
So yeah, it's very easy, and we have multiple flavors to choose from. It tastes good.
Oh, that's great to hear. It's
Unfortunately,
palatable.
though, and it's important though to know that unfortunately, this is not a therapy that will allow you to eat, go to Tim Hortons or drink beer. It's for a adjunct, so you take it along with a strict gluten-free diet. You're not supposed to vary your diet with thinking that you're safe with any therapy. You should still be on a gluten-free diet.
So I can't go back and get those Boston cream donuts at Tim Hortons that I miss so much. Like it's not designed to take
Nope.
on that much gluten.
No Timbits for you.
Ugh. Well, thankfully we have alternatives. So really this is about protecting, like if I go out to a restaurant and I worry that they might not completely, their shared services or shared utensils or whatever, just in case I think I might get sick, this is about protecting me.
Correct. And not just at a restaurant. There are a lot of people that can't, if you have a big family, you can't make your entire house gluten-free. There's always the chance for cross-contamination, cross-contact. So it's really not just for outside the home. It's for any time that you're eating and you're not in total, control over what you're eating.
Yeah, that's an important aspect because we've heard about therapies that might protect you if you are worried about being out and about and getting cross-contaminated. But that like you said, that can happen in the home too. Is this a treatment that is going to be recommended that we kind of take all the time, every day, every week, or just when we think there's a risk?
Well, it is. We are recommending to take it all the time, but ultimately there are times when you just know you don't need to take it. It's what I'm saying is though we're studying though the appropriate frequency and what will happen on the long term if we take it all the time, how that will help us to heal in relating to histology. So even though you may not have symptoms, you're still getting damaged in your intestine if you are continually ingesting gluten. So it's important to say though that it's not just outside the home, it's inside the home. It's are you having a party at a Christmas party, people bring potluck for Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever, and there's always that chance of your friend making you something that it's gluten-free, and then they realize it's not gluten-free, and it's really going to my hope is it's really going to improve the quality of life. It's going to take the edge off for worrying about cross-contamination.
We know there are viewers out there that are celiac diagnosed, they're eating strictly gluten-free, but they're still suffering symptoms. Like, I don't know where this is coming from. So you mentioned the healing, that this might be something that can supplement to their diet and hopefully protect their system, break down that gluten that is coming from they don't know where, to try to help them heal.
Correct. And the data that we have so far, indicates that there's a good chance that that's going to be successful. We know it will take care of the cross-contamination. And we know, so that's, the whole thing. If you don't get the gluten, you're not going to get worse, that's for sure. So, we're very, very excited and hopeful that the more data we get will give us a good answer to the healing question.
I look forward to trying it, and I know there's going to be people out there as, okay, how much is it going to cost? Is this going to be covered by healthcare? Do I need a prescription? Well, we're way too early for that, I know. Can you we are at in the process?
Well, I can answer a couple of those
Oh,
questions.
great.
It's absolutely not a, in the glutenase nutraceutical category at all. It's going to be a prescription. It will be, you will need a prescription, and we've already, the payers will cover it. We've already been over that with them. We've done a study. And so it's going to be produced in a GMP facility. It's going to be, the whole 9 yards, safe manufacturing. And so to answer where we are in phase 2 clinical program. We're nearing the end of phase 2. So looking forward to phase 3, which is the big pivotal study here. And we have been in, I would say, upwards of 600 patients so far in the history of the clinical program. So lots of people, lots of really good data, safe, definitely safe, no adverse events due to this therapy. So we're really excited.
That was going to be my next question. Any side effects that have been noted? So nothing so far, eh?
Well, it's protein, really. So, it's nothing, it's not systemic, which means it doesn't stay in your body. It's oral, it's just, you process it like any other food.
And could you just briefly explain what is meant by phase 2, phase 3 for those of us not familiar?
Oh, sure. So drug development is, as you all know, is a long and drawn out process, and for a good reason. We want to make sure that they've tested the drug or the therapy in every possible way, shape, or form, and dose, and different environments. And so early stage, phase 1, late stage is phase 2, phase 3, where we've established the correct dose that we're using. We've done, preclinical studies and assessed safety and efficacy. And so late stage is now we're getting the last bit of data that we need to go into phase 3, which is, okay, here's the dose we're going to use, here's the formulation we're going to use, here's the packaging we're going to use, and we want to go into a large group of people, basically for safety data.
Yeah, it does sound pretty far along. So if you're talking about going to more people, is there any way Canadians with celiac disease can contribute? Can we be test subjects?
I so wish, I'm so looking forward to bringing this to Canada. I know there aren't very many clinical trials ongoing right now. Definitely phase 3, which we hope, we're targeting for the beginning of 2023 to start our phase 3. But the phase 2 that is ongoing right now is NIH funded here in the US, National Institutes of Health, so government funding. I've asked to go into Canada for a Canadian site for this study, and I just don't know that that's going to be possible at this stage. So definitely phase 3, though.
Okay, and you said that's aiming for early 2023?
2023, yeah.
Okay, and thinking ahead to that, will Canadians who want to participate, I assume you'll need people who have been confirmed diagnosed with celiac disease, not people who think they might have it or are gluten sensitive?
No, this is for confirmed celiac diagnosis.
Like biopsy proven celiac disease? Yep, okay. Yeah. Just making sure people have that question. So phase 3 to start in 2023. Do you have any expectation or a guess on when this product might be available to the public?
Oh, that's a question I always get asked. Well, back to the long and drawn out process with FDA, and it's, once we get into phase 3 should be about a year. then we submit our BLA, submit all of the data to FDA for them to review, which should take, several months. So we're hoping that, well, conservatively 2025 is what we're hoping for. Hopefully before that, but
We'll be cheering you on for sure.
yeah.
If Canadians are able to participate in phase 3, any more info you can provide on what would be involved? Like, is there going to need to be deliberate ingestion of gluten to see if it works? Like, I know it might be too early to give details, but any thoughts on that?
I can't really speak to that for the phase 3 study, just because we're still in discussion on the specific protocol that we're going to use, and we have to speak to FDA about what they, would allow us to do. So our current study, we have 2 ongoing studies. Actually, I should say real quick, I should give a plug to NIH because they've been super supportive of us. If you don't, you may not know, but celiac disease in the US is the least funded GI based disease. And so, and I know they're working to fix that or amend that, but we've been granted, and we are solely NIH funded and privately funded. We're not, that's why we're so small still. And we've been granted 3 NIH grants. So they really do believe in this product, and they believe in the data. So we're super grateful for that. And so for phase 3, I really can't fully answer that question about what would be involved in the protocol. Right now, one of our 2 ongoing NIH studies, we're not doing the typical gluten challenge aspect. We are giving subjects a small intermittent exposure is what we're calling it. It's not a real gluten challenge. It's a small amount of gluten periodically, and that's because to make, we have to test the mechanism of action of the drug. And so if there's no gluten, we have to show that it attenuates the gluten. So we have to provide a small amount of gluten, and I know it's agonizing for subjects to have to go through this in the clinical trials, but it's really needed in some cases. And we've tried to design it so that it's the least amount of agony possible that the participants have to go through. But unfortunately, we do need to show the drug works. So
yeah, that it's doing its job.
Sorry, and I have to say, just in advance of more studies coming into Canada, I would really like to reach out to the Canadian population and say, please, if you could think of joining one of these studies. I'd love to say join ours, of course, but there'll be lots of studies coming into Canada, I hope, in the next few years, and we can't get anywhere unless we get people into our trials. So just pick the right one for you with your doctor.
Yes, I will echo that, and the CCA will definitely be sharing updates on that and publicizing when Canadians can sign up to participate. So yeah, certainly.
It's really important that people realize that there will be choices, and it's important they pick the right choice. But we really do appreciate people who will take the time and effort to enroll in these studies, because the more people we can get, the faster there'll be a therapy available. So.
And do you find that there's people who have the classical gastrointestinal symptoms like I do, there's others who, migraines, brain fog, unexplained anemia. So have you kind of have like a cross section of celiac patients who have been participating in phase 2?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we have people who are, there's a spectrum of symptoms, right? And so there's people like me, I'm on the super sensitive side. I get it all, migraines, everything. And there are people who can, eat a cookie once in a while and it doesn't really bother them. But we have to study everybody because then we have to get an idea of how it works for everybody. So that's
Yeah,
important.
well, certainly, we never advise cheating. The damage is being done even
No,
for folks who are asymptomatic. And it's good that you mentioned, so like yeah, as we know, there's been a shortage of funding, research funding for celiac disease compared to other gastrointestinal disorders, and having funding from the NIH, from the United States government, essentially is a huge step. Like it's really positive to see that they're stepping up with this, eh?
yeah, yeah, they are. Um, and we're so grateful to receive that funding because it means everything to us.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it's really refreshing to see government stepping up with that as well. So we've talked a lot about the product, but a little bit more about you. Like, what is your role in Latiglutenase and at ImmunogenX generally?
okay. Well, again, we're very small, so I have to wear several different hats. um, but my main job, I guess, is to drive the chemistry, manufacturing, and control, so CMC, in the development of the drug. So all of the manufacturing worries, the R&D, all the different companies that come together to manufacture, package, and ship, the drug. And I also drive all the R&D that's going on at ImmunogenX, and also the clinical sample analysis and data interpretation. And I also do a lot of the quality related activities at the company.
And I know you're coming to us from North Carolina. Is that where the company is located?
So that's where I am. That's where our lab is. The corporate headquarters is in Southern California.
Okay. So are there any other, I mean, does ImmunogenX work on other therapies, other treatments for other GI or any other diseases too?
No, right now we're really focusing on celiac disease, but we have a couple other developments in our pipeline, more along the line of disease management tools. One of those is a way to assess how well you're healing after diagnosis. So you go on a diet. Right now, there's really no way to know if you're healing or not. Other than getting another endoscopy, biopsy, and so on. And that's a really invasive procedure. And after, sometimes when you're healing, you heal in patches, so they might not. It's kind of a hit or miss whether you get the right information from a follow-on endoscopy. And so for a lot of people don't quite get the gluten-free diet, and so they may not be healing properly. They come back with symptoms. There's no way for the doctors to really assess how well they're doing. So this is something we're developing that will be able to help the clinicians to help their patients to see whether they're continually healing or whether they're, how well they're healing. So we're excited about that. Another tool is kind of a digital based tool that patients can use in between doctor's visits to assess the frequency of whether they're getting gluten, to assess their, keep track of their symptoms and such. And so when they go back to see their GI doc, they can review all this data and maybe pinpoint areas where they can improve, or pinpoint, where maybe they need to see a nutritionist, so that's a digital based tool. And we're also continuing to work, in food safety and work on better detection of gluten in food, and also ways to detect, to help with clinical trials, to monitor, to help, gluten in urine and so on, is a way that you can measure gluten ingestion. So we have a lot of things going on.
Very important, distinct, but linked work for sure. Yeah, we certainly recommend that people who are diagnosed celiacs consult with a registered dietitian, if only because of the scale of the diet change. But we get folks who are saying they're still sick, but then might not realize, oh wait, there was gluten in that salad dressing or in this soy sauce. I didn't know there was gluten there, or soup broth, whatever. So hopefully this will be another piece of the puzzle for helping people to resolve the ongoing symptoms and damage in the small intestine. Gives a lot of people hope, I hope. Could we maybe switch gears a little bit, and if you don't mind, talking a little bit about your journey to celiac diagnosis?
Oh, okay, sure. Well, I don't, I may be preaching to the choir here, but I think, well, so growing up in Canada, I was, part of a British family, and there wasn't a lot of pasta, uh, not a lot. So but I was always anemic. I always didn't feel well after, and it was really at that time, it was hard to pin down celiac disease, and then everybody has the same. Well, a lot of people have the same situation, so I really didn't sort of start drawing a correlation to wheat until I was out at university and cooking for myself and so on. And it did seem to correlate with pasta, because I was a marathon runner and eating a lot of pasta and feeling worse and worse and worse. And so, I was very anemic. And so over time, going through the myriad of various doctors and various wrong diagnoses, I finally got diagnosed about, I don't know, 20 years ago, I think now. And, finally it's revelation, I guess. Finally figured out what it was. But then sort of the story started where, I didn't know what gluten was, and go away and don't eat gluten. Well, now what do you do? So I was able to, I guess, utilize a nutritionist, but then kind of had to do my own homework and learn about what gluten protein was. And I was doing my PhD at the time and ended up studying gluten proteins and how to analyze for them, because I kept getting sick and realized that a lot of gluten-free food still had a little bit of gluten in it, even though it was under 20 ppm. And so that's where the food science comes into ImmunogenX. And, so I'm still working on. I'm definitely a food scientist still. So, but it's always an ongoing process. You have to learning about what they call different things and labeling issues. And so I know a lot about it, but still it's never completely figured out or obvious wherever you go.
Must be exciting to be part of. You're helping to develop a therapy that'll help the world, but also help you personally. There's
Yeah.
many benefits.
I know, but it's great to be able to do something that I've studied and I can do in the lab, and I can yes, I'm helping myself, but I really feel like I'm giving back to everybody what I've learned, and I can only hope that it helps them. So.
And as a food scientist, I'm sure you'll know the answer to this. Many celiacs have other sensitivities as well. Are you able to talk about, does Latiglutenase have any other common allergens? Is it lactose-free, soy-free, corn? The high allergens that a lot of people would be wondering about?
Oh, you mean, does it target breaking those down?
No, more about the actual ingredients of the product. Does it contain allergens? Like
Oh,
what
no, no,
the
no,
non-medical ingredients?
no.
So we should be all right for people that have to be lactose free and
Oh, totally.
soy
No,
free.
doesn't have any other allergens. No.
Okay, that's great to hear too. Before we close it, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I guess I just wanted to, thank my team, everybody who's backing me up here and helping with the project, moving things forward. And that I'm really excited to finally be talking to some Canadians. And I just hope that we can, be more present in your magazine, and hopefully people will know more about ImmunogenX. And I would welcome anybody who, I don't know if you'll be providing my contact info, but anybody who would like to contact me with questions or just talk about celiac disease, I'd welcome anybody to contact me.
Oh, I'm sure we can share that. You might regret it. We're an inquisitive group, but definitely get you some potential participants in phase 3, and I certainly look forward to signing up if I'm eligible. So we'll
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sealey Voyksner, both for your work and for joining us today. Really grateful to you.
Oh, thanks. Very happy to be here tonight, and I've watched you officiate over a lot of these things before, so it's nice to finally meet you.
You as well, and thanks to all the viewers out there for watching. We know that being celiac's never easy, and as an organization that's based on science, the Canadian Celiac Association will continue to support research and through our J.A. Campbell Research Fund, and continue to share research like the innovative work going on at ImmunogenX. We're all about working to improve diagnosis and quality of life, and supporting research, and this kind of project is a big part of improving our quality of life. If you'd like to make a contribution to support research on celiac disease, you can make a donation. Just go to celiac.ca, click on donate, and select research. It's as simple as that. And Dr. Sealey Voyksner, thank you again for joining us today. Our next installment of In Conversation will be coming up in the early spring. So just watch your CCA Connects newsletter and celiac.ca for updates on this and other news and events, including on this on the next steps of the clinical trials with ImmunogenX. Thank you very much, and goodbye, everyone.